and welcome to the 7 Series here at Snetterton in Norfolk. A quite chilly June day, I have to say. The cars are almost ready to go, so we can hand straight over to our commentator, Mark Werrell.
Yep, thanks a lot. Delighted to be here at Snetterton for what's going to be the second of 3 races this weekend for the Toyo Tyres Sevens Race Series, the 1600cc cars. The grid for this race today is based on the finishing positions from yesterday. I think at the time I actually said the top 10 reverse, but that's when you have a double header format. It's the last race of the day that gets reversed. Well, because we're a treble header format, this race is as per finishing positions, and the grid for our final race of the weekend will be based on the finishing positions from this, but with that top 10 flip. So as the cars head off on their formation lap, let's no doubt guide you through the way that they are going to line up for what I'm sure is going to be, if it's half as good as yesterday's race, we are in for an absolute belter. David Yates, the man from who took the win yesterday, will start from the pole position, and if you were watching yesterday, the win, top 3 separated by 68 thousandths of a second. So David Yates starts from pole with Luke Rosewell sitting alongside, and it's Gary Smith and Stuart Bell that are there on row number 2. The third row of the grid is Michael O'Reilly, who's got Caroline Everett for company, and it's Jeff Newman and Tim Child that line up on row number 4. The fifth row of the grid, it's John Cheverell and John Styring, the two Johns, and row 6 of the grid is Andrea Bernardi, and sitting alongside is Simon Sharrock. Row 7 of the grid, that's where we see Cameron Cooper and Scott Parker, with Chris Savage and Andy Ebden lining up on the next row, which is row number 8. Row 9 is Paul Wells and Colin Loughlin, with the 10th row of the grid being Greg Hyatt and Dave Antrobus, and off the back of the grid is Ben Roswell. So that's the way that they line up. Now, coming into this weekend, Gary Smith, who starts on the second row of the grid, was leading the championship by 200 points. Well, he's now on 249 points. He had a 20-point gap coming into this weekend. He's now on a 26-point advantage, if I've got the mathematics right. And Michael O'Reilly, who was lying second in the championship, has now dropped down to third because, as a result of yesterday's performance, Stuart Bell, who was just a point shy of him, outscored him by 4 points yesterday. So I think Stuart Bell is now on 223 championship points. It's 220 there for Michael O'Reilly. So, slightly warm day again. Not quite as warm as yesterday. Temperature still due to climb over the course of the day, but we were blessed with really good weather yesterday here at Snetterton. We're on the full Snetterton 300 circuit as well. So it's not quite 3 miles, but it's not far off. It's 2.9689 miles, which is as good as 3 miles. And the fastest lap time that was done yesterday, 2 minutes 9.231. The 20-minute race, we managed to squeeze 10 laps in. But as I say, David Yates, Luke Rosewell and Gary Smith all took a chance to lead at various points. Those three had broken away from the rest of the pack, and on the charge to the line, from the camera angle we were looking at yesterday, it was impossible to tell who had taken the win, but David Yates took it by 0.049 of a second from Luke Rosewell, who was just 0.019 of a second ahead of Gary Smith, who was third. So 68 thousandths of a second separated the top 3, and then there was a great fight going on from 4th backwards, so 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all quite close together. Stuart Bell, Michael O'Reilly, Caroline Everett and Jeff Newman, who finished 4th through to 7th, were all separated by not a great deal either. So let's see what we can come up with for this second 20-minute race for the Toyo Tyres Sevens Race Series, supported again by A&F Sprinklers, one of the UK's largest independently owned automatic sprinkler companies. Supply, design, install, service, maintenance, you name it, whether it be commercial or residential, they can do it all. So David Yates, blue, black and white, sitting there on the front row of the grid. Luke Rosewell is largely sort of light green with black that sits alongside. Gary Smith's car is black with some red flashes to it, and it's red and black for Stuart Bell, with Michael O'Reilly's being dark blue, black and orange, and Caroline Everett is the largely blue and green car that sits there on row number 3. So we're about to get this rolling start underway for the second of our Toyo Tyres Sevens Race Series 1600cc Class Championship underway. Red lights are on the gantry, safety car is peeled off, it's a rolling start. And when the lights go out, which they do now, they will head up towards the first corner. It looks as though Luke Rosewell and David Yates are matching each other for pace. but it will be David Yates that will have the inside line when they get up towards the first corner. And who is going to pick up the lead of the race? It looks like it's David Yates that had just got his nose ahead of Luke Rosewell as they all file their way round through Richie's corner for the first time and head into the heavy braking area at the Wilson hairpin. Already there's a little bit of contact there, and that looked as though Gary Smith just got very slightly into the rear wheel arch of David Yates, so he's lost the wheel arch already, the race leader. But there's no other damage other than just some cosmetic damage to the right rear of the race-leading Caterham. So out of Palmer, as per yesterday, the key is stay in the tow. Make sure you are in that lead group. They will be all together slipstreaming each other in the early stages of this one. And it's only really the final few minutes of the race where you can work out who might win. But you've got to be in the lead group if you want to claim the win. You start to squabble, you'll drop away, you'll lose the tow, and all of a sudden you'll go backwards. So there's the number 17 car, Ben Roswell, who started at the back, finished last yesterday, and therefore is at the back today. Hasn't managed to work his way through and past anybody just as yet, but early stages, plenty of time to do it as they head round through Oggies for the first time, and then up towards Williams, and then once they come out of this corner here, the right-hander at Williams, all the way down the Bentley Straight, and this is where the hole in the air that the car makes ahead of you pays the dividends. Hear the squeal of the Toyo tyres, which are already having to work hard as they start to head downhill. David Yates under pressure from Ben Roswell, who jinks out. Luke Rosewell, who jinks out from behind to see whether he might be able to take up the lead of the race. Nothing doing there. We've still got Stuart Bell there in what will be third position. Fourth place looks as though it's Gary Smith that's there in fourth place, and Caroline Everett from sixth on the grid has gained a place. She's up into fifth in the early stages, the blue car with the green rollover hoop. Round through the never-ending right-hander at Coreham and into the difficult braking area for Murray's, because you're trying to rotate the car through Coreham but straighten it up at the same time to get on the brakes to pitch the car in for Murray's. And David Yates is looking to see whether he can make good his escape, but Ben Rosewell and Stuart Bell together with Gary Smith are all there together, for the lead of the race. Then a very slight gap back to Caroline Everett, who was in fifth place but is coming under pressure by the look of things, and I think that might have been Michael O'Reilly that was looking to carve his way past. But up to the lead of the race goes Luke Rosewell, utilised the slipstream down the centre straight. He picks up the lead of the race. The driver that finished yesterday in second place is leading, for the moment at least, in towards the braking area for Wilson. Looks as though we've had a change for third as well, because the number 22 car of Gary Smith snuck through and passed Stuart Bell. So that's a shuffle for third and fourth position. And in fifth place, starting to edge up onto their coattails now, is the next of the cars that sits behind as well. And Caroline Everett's coming along as well, I think. So yeah, Michael O'Reilly, Caroline Everett, is it getting together? So in towards the braking area for Agostini. Top four that had broken away, all of a sudden it's what, 6 for the lead of the race. There's another bit of rear bodywork that's just gone flying off one of the cars. Another rear wheel arch has just come astray. I'd say it's all largely cosmetic. In fact, it was the nose cone that came astray, and it's the nose cone for the number 22 car of Gary Smith. Now, is that going to be a problem? There's the nose cone sitting on the right-hand side of the circuit on the exit of Agostini. One of our Snetterton marshals on the way to pick that out, but that is going to create even more drag. It's not quite as aerodynamic. They're not massively aerodynamic anyway, but it's less aerodynamic at the front now, and that's going to be a problem for Gary Smith. It might be easier to get picking him off as they head down the straights, and I think he's potentially going to struggle with that, because of course the air will no longer be flowing over the bonnet. Some of that air will be flowing underneath the bonnet and into the engine bay. That will aid the cooling. It's not going to aid the aero. Bouncing over the curbs. Gary Smith in third place still. The wheel of the noseless car. Then Stuart Bell sitting behind. Caroline Everett is the next of those up, followed by Michael O'Reilly, and then the Dayglow rollover hoop of the next of the cars tells you that it's going to be Jeff Newman, the number 79 car, that's at the tail end almost of this lead train of, what, 7 cars now, really? So up towards Murray's, lap number 2 about to be completed. And despite the fact that there's no nose on the car, Gary Smith is pushing hard here. He's sitting right on the coattails of the second place car. He's going to get the double toe, and he's drawn himself alongside Luke Rosewell, but he's on the outside line as they head up towards Ritchie's. But he's going to take second place, you know, and he might take the lead of the race. Yes, he does. Sweeps around the outside of David Yates. Can he hang on to it through Ritchie's corner? Yes, he can. And now he's hung on to it through Ritchie's. Can he close the door on the run down in towards Wilson is the next question. Yes, he has as well. So good driving up by Gary Smith. He's also set the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 10.153. So at the moment, the lack of bodywork and the lack of nose cone is giving him no trouble at all. Problems there, I'm afraid, for Dave Antrobus, who is just rejoining. That looks as though he's had an off potentially at Ritchie's corner, or on the exit of the Wilson hairpin. So who started in penultimate position. He's now back in the race. But for the lead of the race, up towards Agostini, come the pack. As I mentioned earlier on, it's all about making sure you stay in the lead pack. Well, at the moment, 7 cars are in the lead pack, and the first car that's just off the lead pack, I think, is Tim Child. So he's the Dayglow green car. If he can close up on the 7 ahead, just get himself somewhere in the tow, then he'll then start to really edge up towards them. But for the moment, 7 for the lead, then the gap, then the Dayglow green car of Tim Child. Out of Williams, back onto the Bentley straight, there we'll go. This time Luke Rosewell looking to try and pick up the tow on the red and black number 19 car in the hands of Stuart Bell. Stuart Bell jinking out to try and break the tow on the car behind, whilst all of the time Gary Smith leads the way, but he's under enormous pressure from David Yates in second place, the number 15 car. Up towards the braking area for Brundle and Nelson, but it's still just about Gary Smith that leads the way from David Yates in second place. Luke Rosewell sitting there in third position. Then it's Stuart Bell, Caroline Everett. It looks as though Jeff Newman has managed to pick up a place here. He's now inside the top 6, which means that the number 13 car of Michael O'Reilly is down into 7th for the moment, but is still, all importantly, in the lead pack with just over 13.5 minutes of the scheduled 20 still remaining. Now, Gary Smith, race leader, remember, is the championship leader, extended his championship lead by 6 points yesterday, with the 2 points he picked up in qualifying, but the 47 points he picked up for finishing where he did in the race. 45 points for finishing where he did in the race. I think it's 4 points probably he gained yesterday. But he'll desperately want to try and make sure that he at least maintains his championship lead by the time they leave Snetterton. So he's got lots of work still to do in this race and a fair old chunk to do in the final race as well. Good battle going on. That's John Cheverill, who's having a great little fight, trying to keep at bay the aspirations of Tim Child. Tim Child just having lost the position that time through. So Tim was 8th over the line, John Cheverill was 9th, but they've shuffled the order in the early stages of this lap. And then just off them is John Styring, who's also coming under pressure from Andrea Bonani. And Andrea Bonani is in that dichotomy as well. He wants to attack, he's got to defend, because the man who finished 8th in the championship last year, Simon Sherrock, is right in his Toyo tyres wheel tracks. So back to the lead of the race, and whilst we were looking at the squabbles going on further down through the order, it looks as though David Yates has picked up the lead of the race. Out of Oggies, up towards Williams. David Yates leading from the noseless Gary Smith, with Luke Rosewell still sitting there in third place. Stuart Bell, Caroline Everett, they're all still this lead train of 7 cars. Nobody's been shaken away for it. Now you can see them as they head down the Bentley straight, each time trying to move around to break the tow on the cars that are around them. And are we going to have any shuffle in the order? Doesn't look like it at this stage. So 6 for the lead, really. Just losing one of the cars off the tail end there, which, by the look of things, is, I think, Michael O'Reilly, who's just started to drop away a shade now. Yeah, the number 13 car of Michael O'Reilly, not quite able to live with the pace of the top 6 cars. With 11.5 minutes to go this time, it's going to see the completion of lap number 4. And are we going to see a faster lap than yesterday? It was 2 minutes 9.231 yesterday. We're in the 2 minute 10s so far today as we go side by side for the lead of the race again. Gary Smith keen to draw himself up alongside and retake the lead of the race from David Yates down the centre straight, and following him through is Luke Rosewell. So from third up to the, from first down to third place. And now that Gary Smith has taken up the lead of the race, he's about to lose it, because Luke Rosewell, who's just set the fastest lap of the race with that 2 minute 9.685, now sneaks through. So Luke Rosewell, who finished second in yesterday's race, for the moment picks up the lead, but for how much longer? Answer is not a great deal, because by the next corner, back through goes the number 22 car in the hands of Gary Smith, the championship leader. Now, Gary Smith finished 5th in this championship last year. We're almost 3 wide that time coming up towards Agostini, but the next corner, Luke Rosewell goes back into the lead, or does he? Gary Smith tries to brave it out around the outside of Agostini. He'll now need to be conscious that he doesn't allow David Yates to sneak through on the run up towards Hamilton, which I think might be the case. No, David Yates backs out of it in the third place, number 15 car. He's still got Stuart Bell in the red machine right behind him in fourth place as well. Up towards the braking area for Oggies. Now, we're at the half distance point of this race. We're on lap number 5. We are now 10 minutes remaining, so halfway point, and onto the Bentley straight. So critical to get a good exit out of Williams. Somebody really running wide there, raising the dust, going beyond the circuit limits. Now, you get a good run out of Williams. You can carry all of that momentum down in towards the braking area for Brundle and Nelson. You get a poor exit, you get picked off in these cars. Little puff of smoke there from Gary Smith, who runs too wide. He's a bit too quick going into the corner. You saw one little puff of smoke on the way in, another little puff of smoke as he tried to anchor it up ever more with a bit of cadence braking, but he's dropped down through the order. Caroline Everett has gone through, Stuart Bell has gone through, Luke Rosewell has gone through. So Gary Smith, from being right at the sharp end, is still in the lead pack, but he's now dropped down into what's that going to be, 5th position, I think. So there's problems. That's Ben Roswell. We've got Luke Rosewell and we've got Ben Roswell. That's Ben Roswell, who started off the back and has clearly had a problem coming through Brundle and Nelson as well. He's only now just getting up to some sort of speed, but we are side by side for the lead of the race again. David Yates fighting away with Luke Rosewell, who got the toe over the start-finish line, but it's still going to be David Yates that leads, and we've still got 7 cars in the lead pack at the moment. Good fights going on further down through the order still as well. Tim Child still having to work overtime to keep John Cheverill at bay. But for the lead of the race, side by side up towards Wilson. They're all leaning on each other, 2 by 2 by 2. They all go round through the Wilson hairpin. They all come out pointing in the same direction and still with all of their body parts attached as well. Stuart Bell trying to sneak through into second place and makes it stick. So through goes the red car of Stuart Bell into second place at Palmer. It's all to do with that run he got coming out of the Wilson hairpin. Was able to sneak through and ahead of the number 47 car with the orange stripe down the centre of it in the hands of Luke Rosewell. Gary Smith under pressure from Caroline Everett, who's got that front right wheel arch flapping on her car. But the Toyo Tyres 7s Race Series again here, providing some brilliant racing. So they've gone through Hamilton, 8 minutes remaining, up towards Oggies, lap number 6. Luke Rosewell still with that fastest lap of the race, set a couple of laps ago now, 2 minutes 9.685. It's sort of 4 for the lead and then a slight gap back, not much. They're still within towing distance. The car that sits there in 5th place, which is Caroline Everett. So this is where, again, the slipstream tells. And just look at the movement as they all jink out and try and outfox each other. For some of the drivers, it's to try and maybe take the lead of the race. For others, it's to get out of the tow because they don't quite want to lead at this stage. They want to try and keep their powder dry. But Steve Bell picks up the lead of the race for the first time and bouncing over the curb. Luke Rosewell goes through into second briefly, but is now back under attack from David Yates, the car he just took the place away from on the previous corner. David Yates goes back through to second. Luke Rosewell is down into 3rd place, and Gary Smith is still in full attack mode in 4th place. Caroline Everett is next up in the blue car with the green flashes to it. And then thereafter, it's Jeff Newman and still Michael O'Reilly by the look of things. In fact, it's Michael O'Reilly and then Jeff Newman by the look of things, because the Dayglow yellow roll hoop is the indicator that's Jeff Newman. So he's at the tail end of the lead 7 at the moment. And there's quite a gap back to the cars in 8th and 9th place, which is John Cheverill still fighting away with the Dayglow green car in the hands of Tim Child. Now Stuart Bell, who was leading, down into 4th by the time they get towards Ritchie's corner. So through goes David Yates, through goes Luke Rosewell, through goes Gary Smith. They're still hunting in packs at this stage, but Rosewell is leading, and we're 3 wide going up towards the Wilson hairpin. Can they all make it through? They all just about give each other enough room. Caroline Everett is the gainer there, maybe, over the curbs on the way out. She's running wheel to wheel with the 22 of Gary Smith, but she's got the all-important inside line when they head up towards the left-hander at Palmer, and they're still together as they come out of the corner. I think Gary Smith might just have done enough there. Yeah, Caroline Everett just had to slot back behind, but is she going to attack again, heading in towards the braking area for Agostini? She's trying to, but the door's going to close, so she's got no choice but to back out of the move and settle for what at the moment is 5th place, but she's under pressure all of the time from Jeff Newman and the next car as well, which is Michael O'Reilly. Now, I would have thought that Gary Smith might have struggled a little bit with the lack of nose cone, particularly at a circuit like Snetterton, but he is doing a really good job, the championship leader, of hanging on in there, and doesn't seem to at all have affected his performance in this second AF Sprinklers supported Toyo Tyres 1600cc race here. Down the Bentley straight again, look at the movement. David Yates from one side to the other, back to the other side again, anything to just try and break the toe on the car behind. Because as long as Luke Rosewell is close to him and can sit behind him, he'll pick up a small advantage from the hole in the air that the race leader is creating. So that's why David Yates is just moving around, trying to prevent the second place car from sitting in that hole of the air. Now, as I suggested yesterday, as long as you're in the lead pack heading on to the final lap, you stand half a chance of a win when it comes to Toyo Tyres 7 Series racing. And that's what all of these drivers will want to do. They want to squabble, but some of it is almost just positioning yourself. Get yourself into the position that you're happy with so that you can attack on the final lap. And some of that positioning is even on the final lap because they don't want to potentially be leading the race. They maybe don't even want to be second or third entering the final lap. They want to be maybe even further back so that they can get a toe or even a double toe. But they're just starting to spread out very slightly. It looks like the top three have just broken away a little bit from Stuart Bell in the red car, who was there in 4th place that time as they came over the start-finish line, now with a little more than 4 minutes to go. So David Yates leading the way. Lost the wheel arch on the very first lap of the race. Luke Rosewell still with him. They were first and second respectively yesterday. The car that's there in 3rd place is Gary Smith. So the top 3 at the moment in this race are in the order where they finished yesterday, with Stuart Bell in 4th place, also where he finished yesterday. So 4 minutes remaining, but you can guarantee they're not all going to be together. And there's the battle. That's going to be for 7th, 8th and 9th place, I think it will be. Tim Child under pressure from Andrea Bonani, and also John Chevrolet in the silver car with the sort of burgundy and gold flashes down the centre of it. Somebody just fell off his car, not entirely sure what that was there. So that's another good little fight we've got actually. So what's that? That's 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th places and 13th maybe as well. So 7 for the lead, and is it another 7 fighting for 8th place backwards? Difficult to know where to look, isn't it, when it comes to Toyo Tyres 7's race series action. But yeah, Tim Child is the man who's doing all of the work there. Then it's John Chevrolet, then it's number 31, which is Andrea Bonani. And then thereafter, difficult to tell which of that next car it was. I think it might have been possibly the number 99 car of Cameron Cooper and Scott Parker that were there in that mix as well. But this is a good little fight that's going on between them all. And who's going to lead when they get down towards the bottom of the straight? It's going to be Andrea Bonani. So number 31 car also missing a wheel arch. I think, as I said yesterday, I think that's an ex-Marco Egham car from a couple of seasons ago, looking at the livery of it. But no matter where you look, there are squabbles going on. Now, we've got 2 3/4 minutes to go. And the fight's still continuing out on circuit. Over the start-finish line comes the lead battle. Luke Rosewell looking to try and hang on to the lead of the race, but David Yates will slipstream his way past, and I think Gary Smith is going to follow suit as well. No, he can't, so Luke Rosewell just loses the 1 place. On to the penultimate lap now. We've had a new fastest lap of the race, and it's for the noseless Gary Smith. 2 minutes 8.790 from Gary Smith. But Luke Rosewell back into the lead of the race over David Yates by the time they get into towards the Wilson hairpin. So Rosewell leads Yates, leads Smith. 1, 2 and 3. 4th place now, just that little bit further back. Stuart Bell, who has lost 4th place and has now handed that over to Caroline Everett, provisionally at least as far as he's concerned. Now, the cars in 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th place can't afford to squabble anymore now. They're going to have to work together if they want to try and get themselves back up to the lead trio in this final lap in a bit, because they have just about lost the all-important slipstream now down the Bentley Straight and over the Senna Straight, the 2 big long straights here at Snetterton. The Senna Straight being the start-finish line, the Bentley Straight being the back straight. So through Oggies, this is lap number 9. Luke Rosewell leading the way, looking to see what he might be able to do. Of all of the drivers here this weekend, Gary Smith and David Yates are the only those that have taken wins. David Yates took the win yesterday. Gary Smith won at Donington Park at the season opener and won both of the races at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit, where the Toyo Tyres 7's race series supported the GT World Challenge Europe. Don Henschel, who's not with us this weekend, has been the only other winner, and he won the second of the 2 races at Donington Park, but isn't on the entry list this weekend. Squeal of those Toyo tyres as they're being worked so hard on the ragged edge, the drivers, particularly Stuart Bell in 5th position. You see the tail end of his car just brushing onto the curbs, sliding wide, but beautifully controlled by Stuart Bell. But onto the final lap they will go. 30 seconds remain, so checkered flag it will be for them next time through. And David Yates, Luke Rosewell, Gary Smith, the top 3 from yesterday, can all roll their sleeves up now and try and work out who's going to finish on what step of the podium, and let's hope that they don't trip over each other, as we saw in the 420Rs on the final lap yesterday. Here goes Gary Smith, trying to sneak up the inside of David Yates, nothing doing. The number 15 car of Yates sweeps across the nose of Gary Smith. Steve Bell also having to stick his elbows out to keep Caroline Everett at bay as they fight over what is 4th and 5th position. Now, the Bentley Straight is potentially going to decide this race, but it was actually the run to the line that decided it yesterday. But Luke Rosewell is looking to see whether he could chalk up his first win of the season. Of the 3 drivers inside the top 3 in this race, he's the only one that hasn't been on the top step of the podium so far this season, because we've not seen a great deal of Luke in the Toyo Tyres 7 Series so far this year. Elsewhere down through the order, Stuart Bell has dropped like a stone through the order, as has Caroline Everett. Now, Luke Rosewell there, down to 2nd place. Now, was that because he made a mistake, or was that because he wanted to? That's the big question that maybe we might be able to find out when we hopefully might be able to have a catch-up with the drivers, either, if not after this race, then maybe later on over the course of the afternoon. But onto the Bentley Straight for the final time. Gary Smith is the man that's providing the tow to those behind. Is that tactical? He wants to lead onto the Bentley Straight so that he loses positions and then maybe can attack onto the run to the line. David Yates, I think, or Luke Rosewell might pick up the lead here. I think it might be Luke Rosewell, or will it be? No, it's still Gary Smith. That lock of that brake again, he needs to be careful. Made a mistake earlier on, didn't he, that dropped him way down through the order. It's been a good charge to get himself back into contention. He leads the way up towards the bomb hole for the final time. Luke Rosewell there in 2nd position. David Yates sitting there in 3rd place. Then the gap back before in 4th place. We see, I think that's Michael O'Reilly that's up into 4th position. But for Gary Smith, the championship leader, who extended his championship lead by just a few points yesterday, I think he might just have enough of a gap between himself and Luke Rosewell to be able to hang on to this one. So up towards the checkered flag they will go. Luke Rosewell under pressure from David Yates for 2nd place, but it's going to be Gary Smith that claims the win. Luke Rosewell will come through in 2nd place and David Yates in 3rd. The top 3 separated by 0.3 of a second that time through. It was Michael O'Reilly that was there in 4th place ahead of the 5th place car of Jeff Newman, followed by Caroline Everett, who was there in 6th place. Stuart Bell dropped to 7th in the end, and it will be Andrea Bonani that finished in 8th place as the winner, almost you could say, of the 2nd pack of cars from John Chevrolet and Tim Child. But fantastic stuff again in this AF Sprinkler supported race from the Toyo Tyres 7s race series competitors. Not quite as close as yesterday, because we only had the top 3 separated by 0.3 of a second, but it was brilliant racing again, and we will look forward to seeing them out later on. The important thing, really, with regards to the results is that, of course, the top 10, because the final race is coming up for them later on, this is where the top 10 get flipped, because it's the treble header weekend. So Tim Child, who finished in 10th position, will have the privilege, the honour of starting from pole position later on, or the pressure, you could argue, of starting from pole position later on for our final 1600cc race. So I think all of the cars through have taken the checkered flag, barring one, and that was Dave Antrobus, who had his off earlier on and onto the grass. They're making their way into the Parc Fermé area, and we should hopefully be able to confirm the results with you before we maybe hand down to John Jackson, who might be able to catch up with a driver or two. So Dave Antrobus is taking the checkered flag. Let's guide you through the results. The win goes the way of Gary Smith, and in 2nd place it was Luke Rosewell, with David Yates finishing in 3rd, and Michael O'Reilly in 4th position ahead of Jeff Newman, who was 5th, with Caroline Everett in 6th place. Stuart Bell dropped to 7th in the end. Andrea Bonani was there in 8th place ahead of John Chevrolet, and Tim Child, who finished in 10th, but will take pole in the top 10 being flipped for race number 3. So that gives you the top 10. Fastest lap of the race went the way of Gary Smith with that 2 minutes 8.790. Doesn't offer up any extra championship points other than just one, that's all. But great racing that we had. So we have finished our results. So let's hand you downstairs to John Jackson, and we can hopefully catch up with some of the drivers.
Thanks very much, Mark. Yeah, I said it was nice and cold. The sun's come out. It's nice and beautiful now. So I hope you enjoyed that race. We'll try and chat to some of the drivers here. Can I butt in for the live coverage? Congratulations. How do you feel that race went for you?
Yeah, it's a bit mixed. Yeah, a few mistakes along the way, but managed to catch up with these two again, and mainly it's down to sort of tactics in the last sort of couple of minutes really. They were just saying they missed the last lap board, so I kind of benefited from that.
Oh really? Well, they did. Yeah. I mean that helps you, I guess.
Yeah. Yesterday I sort of lost out by a few thousandths, so yeah, I'll take the win today.
Excellent stuff, and obviously one more race coming up later on, and the sun's out now. You hoping the sun stays out? We have a bit of a warmer track.
I don't mind. I quite like the rain. Get some rain up here.
Okay, well there we go. Fair enough. Not all drivers like the warm. We normally chat to drivers and they're like, yeah, we want it warm, but that's fine. Congratulations. We'll chat to you in a second here. Just mentioning there that you missed the pit board there.
Yeah, the last lap It's usually a last lap board. I couldn't see the time. You only get a split second to see because when we're racing, I didn't see the time. So I came out the last corner thinking that right now we're on to the last lap. Now I've got to sort of make my move, and yeah, I saw the flag and it was too little, too late. But you know, second, one more chance.
Exactly. Well, you've got that race coming up later on. I mean, you're not going to miss the pit board, the last lap board this time, at least.
No, I'll be counting, definitely.
All right, thanks very much. Congratulations, coming second there. Have we got time to grab someone else? Let's have a look here. Have we got David? Let's see. Can I come in here for our live coverage? How was that race for you, sir?
It was a good race. I mean, it was same as yesterday, just very close, very clean, absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
We were just talking, you didn't miss the last lap board, did you?
Yes, I
did. You did.
So both of us are coming through afterwards, and in third, absolutely fine, because, another lap to go, and we've got a few straights to take them, and then the next thing you see is a checkered flag. So, right, so might pay more attention next time.
You won't make that mistake twice.
No, exactly.
Excellent stuff. Well, that's not too bad. Third is admirable. You've got one more race later on.
Yeah, brilliant.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much. Well, I mentioned that race coming up a little bit later on, but before that, our next race coming up here at Snetterton is not too far away. We'll be live from midday.